The opinions expressed during this program represent the opinions of the participants and is given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace professional advice for your specific situation.
We love you, Dave.
Wow. It is 8:09 on Mornings with Brian, and Dave's back.
Hey,
Welcome back, Dave.
I'm a lovable guy, obviously.
Yeah, you are.
I know people love me.
It's time to get your financial questions in. We don't
Thank
have
you,
any.
Ron.
There's no line. I think people forgot who Dave is, so there's
I
no
know,
line.
because you bumped me 11 weeks in a row.
Okay, 11 is such an exaggeration, but I did bump you. Text or call with your
Yes.
financial questions, 440-546-2255. Any questions regarding money, 440-546-2255.
Or life in general.
I
No.
won't be asking you those.
No, just money.
Tools. I just got a new tool. I was down in Amish country, Kime Lumber, and it was Charm Days. If you ever
What's
want
a
to go
Charm Day?
to,
What's the town it's in?
yeah,
Charm.
it's the
It's like
worst
Charm
day.
Days.
It's the worst time to go to
thought it
Kime
was like-
Lumber because they're directing traffic. You know?
Yeah, it's days where you charm people.
I thought it was like a festival.
It's every day for me. But
It is a festival. It's Charm Days. It's Charm Days in Charm, and Kime Lumber puts all their tools on sale. So I've been eyeballing, Brian,
You made a list.
a DeWalt skill saw. You know, like a what are they?
Bandsaw?
No, a skill saw. It's I lost
Circular
the word.
saw.
Circular saw. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
cordless?
battery, cordless, yeah.
Oh.
And they had their newest model on sale, and the salesman said, "What's it going to take for me to get you in this saw today?" And I said, "Not a lot, not a lot."
Wow.
And we
jealous.
actually took with us 2 Charm Days. We took TJ and Max, and we took them
His
in
dogs.
Kime Lumber. And my wife says, Levon says, "Well, do they let dogs in Kime Lumber?" I said, "I don't ask. I just pretend like I own the place."
they're
Yeah.
they're sport dogs.
Yeah, emotional support dogs, financial support dogs. I take TJ to the office all the time, and she is a financial support dog. She'll, if somebody's having a particularly bad budgeting day, she'll come and lay her head on their lap and
Yeah, that's nice.
and talk to them about budgets.
It sounds like you made a sound financial decision getting that saw.
I did. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I wonder if Eddie could use. Does Eddie have a circular saw?
I don't know. I don't know tools.
The answer is no, he does not.
I know he
have a
does. He doesn't
circular
let him
saw.
do
I
anything,
know.
really.
I know.
He
I had to
can
bring one
literally-
over.
He can
so.
do whatever he wants. It's not about
As long
I say
as you
no.
approve.
It's not about me saying no. It's about he has to find the projects. So
Well, he listens from about 8:40 to 9
does.
o'clock. So we'll have to bring this back up a little bit later.
Hold on. I'm going to set an alarm.
yesterday I asked him. I wanted to hear if he heard our segment yesterday, and I said, "Oh, were you like listening today?" He goes, "I didn't listen to you guys this morning." And I was like, "That is so rude." He goes, "Yeah, I was listening to something else." It was so rude.
Isn't that wild? Sometimes
Couldn't
my
believe
wife tells me about other morning shows, and
I was like,
go,
"Hey,
excuse
could
me.
you support me, please?"
Right.
You know.
I feel like he's obligated by marriage and law
I-
to listen to you on the radio.
Yeah, you'd think.
You don't think he hears enough out of Lauren? Honestly.
I don't know that he does.
No,
Although
he
you
does.
say you're pretty chatty with Eddie.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty chatty. I'm the chatty one.
Wow.
That's unexpected,
Is
to
it?
say the least. Yes.
She's like an onion. There's layers.
We have this friend. I'm not going to say what her name is.
That's
but
for the best.
Yes. She in person alone, I think she could like rip out my eyeballs and eat them right in front of me.
Oh my.
And then we met her with her husband. And it was
She's a delicate flower.
yes.
Yeah.
Afterwards we get in the car and I'm like, I don't know what I just saw right there, but did you see what I saw? And I was like, yeah, I saw it too.
She loves him.
What a gift he must be.
Are you ready for some questions?
I guess.
She's a chatty Cathy around her Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Well, we
As chat as you're off.
does he ever get that death stare that you gave me that one day when you stared into the depths
your
of
soul?
my soul?
No.
You reserve that for us here? Gee,
Yes.
thanks.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What is your outlook on the effects of the Boeing strike and how could it affect the economy?
Oh.
Oh.
Well, Boeing they did just raise some capital. They sold some shares and they've got some cash. I don't think long term it's going to necessarily affect the economy. It's more of a company-specific issue that has a lot of company-specific issues. They have safety issues, they have production issues, and now they have a strike issue. I happen to like Boeing as a company, mainly because how many companies, Brian, make big aircraft? Like two-row aircraft.
I think like two. Actually.
Two, yeah. Airbus, which is a socialist government-supported airline manufacturer out of Europe. They don't even make the 380 anymore, A380, because you can only land it at like 10 airports. And so
why? Because it's so big?
It's so big, and
goodness.
it takes so much to service that aircraft. And you got to fly that aircraft. When you think about what goes on in an aircraft that has two decks, there is so much servicing that goes on. And because you could only land it at a few airports, when you pull that aircraft out of service or out of airline service because you got to service the engines or do something on it, you're losing money every time that plane takes off. So they're not going to make it anymore. I happen to like Boeing. There's nobody that really competes with them except for Airbus on a single aisle aircraft. And the 737 MAX has 20 years of orders waiting for it. 20 years.
Wow.
Could you imagine if somebody said, I'm going to buy that aircraft, and you say, well, I could get that to you in 20 years.
Well, it's kind of reminiscent for me of being on hold with either the doctor's office or the insurance company.
Yes, or an airline.
Your call is very important. Yes. It will be 200 hours until we answer your call.
Yeah, I don't, when I call an airline, when I call my airline, the one that I fly the most, I have a special number. So I don't ever wait on hold. If I wait on hold for more than a minute, I complain. I'm like, why did it take you guys so long to answer?
So you're not worried about the Boeing strike?
I'm not worried about the Boeing strike. It would have to last a year before I think, and that's, so the 787, which is the main long-haul plane, that's made out of South Carolina. That's not affected at all. And the 737s that they have on the tarmac that they're painting, and they have enough of those to deliver for the next 18 months. I'm just not worried about it right now.
By the way, side note about we were talking about our spouses listening to the show. I got a text from my wife. I'm listening right now.
So that's what you get.
What do you mean?
That's what you get for being rude.
I wasn't being rude. She's the best wife in the whole world.
Yeah, she's just saying, what she just said is, Brian, I love you. I support you. Yeah. You're important to me. You're somewhat manly, but not a lot manly, but you're somewhat manly.
Whoa.
She said
What's
all those
happening?
things.
Oh, she's saying that to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. Thank you, Dave, for having my back. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. I'm here for you.
Lauren?
What?
What do you got? What's next?
Oh, you don't want to take a break right now?
I want to take a break right now.
It is Thursday, 8 a.m., which means Dave Szfranski is here answering your financial questions. Dave, we got a lot of questions to get to.
Can you just remind people who I am, because I haven't been here in so long?
Founder and president of Edgewater Investment Group.
Genuinely nice person, well-dressed.
Yes.
Appropriately groomed.
So it sounds like you're reminding them who you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Benevolent dictator.
Benevolent dictator. In case I forget who I am, I have them write my name in the jacket. So
just in
if
case
I get lost, like, who are you? I'm like, I don't know. Look at my clothes.
Okay. Dave, I am unfortunately facing a catastrophic diagnosis. I'm the guardian of a 12-year-old. He has over $200K in a trust that I oversee. What is the best scenario to ensure his finances before things on my end get worse to ensure his future? I also have $400K in my pension plan, which I am retired and recently received inheritance annuities that was highly taxed. I was considering taking out the money at my tax level so my children could avoid that. But what about my not retired husband? So maybe start with the $200K.
Yeah, that's like two questions there.
Yeah.
I think you need what I would consider to be some higher level estate planning immediately.
As in a professional needs to help you navigate this.
Yes, because you have to, for your trust, for the minor, there's going to be named a successor trustee. And you could do that as the current trustee of that trust. You can name a successor trustee. And sometimes, you don't, when you name a successor trustee, people say, well, I'm just going to name another family member. And then you have to think through, what's that relationship going to be like when you name the successor trustee and they're over somebody, a family member that they would consider an equal? That's a very difficult position to be put in, and you might not want to do that. So as far as your pension plan goes, your husband's going to inherit that pension plan tax-free, By the way, my wife is listening, so
Hi.
she texted you. Obviously, she loves me very much.
Hello, Levon.
Thinks I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, which is mostly true.
We don't know how you
And-
do it, Levon.
Yes,
We truly don't.
1 hour's enough.
yes. to get enough of Dave, 1 hour a week, except for when you bump me 11 weeks in a row.
Yeah, exactly. I had needed a bigger break.
Yeah,
You're feeling good.
We get it. We get it. Yeah, your husband's going to get that pension plan because in Ohio, that's the way it works. If he's not the beneficiary, he has to sign off on it. So I think they need estate planning right now.
And it
Okay.
sounds like as part of that, it's an attorney would have to work on adjusting the trust and such, right? Isn't that the work of an attorney?
Well, it's best done. I think whenever you change a trust or add something to a trust, you could do it yourself. But I like the idea of somebody who's skilled in this area looking over it to make sure that it's right so that it can't be contested.
Yeah.
Because once you're gone, once you've assumed room temperature, it's too late. Now it's ground in stone. And you want to make good decisions leading up to that because these are important things.
Yeah.
You got a minor that's got $200,000 and you don't want the money to ruin that person. I know it sounds weird to say, well, money could ruin people, but I see it happen
Oh, it
all
can.
the time.
Yeah.
I've seen families not talk to each other ever again for $10,000. I mean, think about $10,000 is not a lot of money. What's it gonna? What
It's
is
a couple of cartons of eggs these days.
That's right. Yeah, it's not going to buy you a car. It's not going to pay your rent for a year. But to never talk to a family member again for that.
That's why it's so important to do estate planning.
Exactly, it is. You know anybody, Bry?
I can't recommend them on the radio, but yes, I do.
What is the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable living trust? And if you have a living trust, do you need a will also?
Well, if you have a trust, part of your trust is going to be a will, and yes, you do need a will. And when your attorney executes your trust, draws it up, they're going to draw up a new will for you. And there's some things that go in that
Because they go hand in hand, you're saying.
They do. They work together, and they'll throw in what's called a codicil. So if you bought something that should have gone into the trust, but you didn't, it's going to go to probate court, and the probate court's going to say, "Oh, that's in the trust," and so they put it in the trust. The difference between a revocable trust and irrevocable trust is one can be changed and one can't be.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's irrevocable, it's exactly that. It cannot be changed once it's executed. And so
Even by the person who created it?
yes. Essentially what you're doing when you create an irrevocable trust is you're giving ownership of something away. You could do it to get it out of your estate, to get a tax deduction. There's all kinds of irrevocable trusts that people execute for a variety of reasons. There are ways to create an irrevocable trust and get income off of it. So there's a lot of estate planning techniques that you could use. The things, choosing between those two things would really require an estate planning attorney. That's what I would recommend.
What is the best way to leave money for minors?
Cold hard cash.
Fat stacks of cash in the backyard.
Briefcase of cash.
No.
In the walls of your house?
Yeah. And don't tell anybody. Well, there's a lot of ways to leave money. I think a minor can't inherit money. So you're gonna have to. So if you have a minor and you say, well, I want them to have this $1 million, and you die and they're 15, they're going to have a guardian appointed for them unless you've appointed one via a will. A trust cannot appoint a guardian, only a will can. If you're going to leave money to a minor, I think it's best done in a trust because think about where we were at when we were 15. Think of somebody.
I was a stud.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. I've seen pictures. You were not a stud. More like a dud. I
true.
think you said dud wrong.
Well played. Yeah, that's true.
We were all that way, though. Somebody's going to hand you a big chunk of dough, and you're 15. You're going to make bad decisions. Why?
Yeah.
Because your brain's not developed yet.
A lot of Slurpees.
Yes, and so having some method of controlling the way that a minor receives access to money, I think is the best way to go. A trust is the best thing to do to leave money, especially if it's a bigger amount of money. The thing that you want to do in a trust, though, and I've seen this work out both ways, where the trust was so restrictive and the money went to the kids, got dribbled and out over long periods of time, I think, well, that's not really the best way to do it either. But I like, giving the trustee a wide swath of discretion. If at 18 the kid's ready, they could have the money. If at 18 the kid's not ready, they're not getting the money. And I think, I would encourage things like higher education, even though I think it's a scam right now. You still need to be educated. And I would encourage productivity. So things that you could do is you could say, well, I'm going to give you money 3 times your W-2 income or your 1099 income. So you're saying, look, you go out and you make something and I'll give you something.
That's good.
But I'm not just, Warren Buffett likes to say, I want to give my kids enough money where they could afford to do something, but not enough where they could afford to do nothing. And I think that's sage advice.
Can a trust be named as a 50% beneficiary?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this all the same person?
No, it was 2 of them were the same, and then another one was after that.
Okay, what is?
So there's something in the water.
I feel
Something
like I'm
about
getting
trust?
channeled this morning. Yeah.
All right, it's 8:31. Just a few minutes till Eddie Cuevas, Lauren's husband, starts listening. And I was
Maybe.
thinking of texting him just to be sure he does, so we can talk directly to him, Dave. She said earlier he can get whatever he wants in terms of tools. It's pretty bold.
Yeah, we're going to test that
can.
theory. Let's test the theory.
I've never said no to him getting tools.
I've tested
ever.
a theory that my wife said one time, and it wasn't true. And I'll recount that when we come back.
No, we won't.
It's time for a quick break.
We're taking financial questions, 440-546-2255. Okay, Dave. How can I leverage an LLC to reduce taxes when I don't currently produce an income outside of my 8-to-5 job?
Well, it's going to be difficult.
It's not hard to start an LLC, but you'd have to have a purpose for this, wouldn't you?
Well,
I guess you could just start a random one and do nothing.
You could. You could. One of the things about subchapter S companies, and that's what he'd be a subchapter S. You don't have to pay Social Security tax on. Well, you don't have to pay as much Social Security tax. You can't avoid it all, but there's a way to avoid Social Security tax. So the 15.4%, and you could do that via bonuses. So if you can generate income out of the LLC subchapter S, that's how you would do that. That's the way you save. You could also set up a retirement plan. So you could you could set up a Roth 401k with a money purchase plan. You could put $70,000 into it almost.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
Dave, we got a caller. Let's go
let's
to
go.
line 1. We've got Mackenzie on the line. Hey, Mackenzie, what's your question for Dave Szfranski?
Hi, I just wanted to say really quick, I love listening to you guys every morning on my drive to work.
Thanks.
There's been something I have wanted to ask for a while because I don't know what to do next. I'm 26. I have no debt whatsoever. I own my car outright. I have no student loans. I have only $10,000 in the bank right now for a home because I was in a pretty bad car accident when I was younger. So I've had to pay all these medical bills. I just opened a Roth IRA account and threw $1,000 in there. And I just want to know 2 things. 1, do you think these interest rates are going to come down? And 2, what should my next step be? Because I'm lost.
Okay, so let me ask you this first.
Aren't you going to cheer for her?
Are you a good cook? Can you cook?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so Mackenzie, I think you're quite the catch, actually. Quite the catch. Somebody's going to be very fortunate. Be choosy. You should be very choosy in your dating life because you are a catch.
She didn't come here for dating advice, David.
I'm just complimenting her. I'm thinking, all this and she can cook. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh! If any single guys are listening, they should
Call
be like,
in, we'll set you
Mackenzie,
up.
what's your
Apparently.
phone number?
No, don't tell him your phone number. Don't tell him.
say
Don't say
anything.
it.
No.
But you're not
Dave
wrong.
does not work here.
She's doing a great job financially. You would cheer for this.
Oh yeah, yes. This is great. This is great, and she can cook. So that's a really good thing. And I do think interest rates are coming down.
Oh, yay.
I think by June of next year, interest rates will have been cut 8 more times.
Oh, my goodness.
Potentially, maybe 6, but probably 8 more times.
So she should wait then.
Well, I think it would be wise to wait to purchase. And realtors don't want to hear this, but if you find a house that you
turn
really
your
love
radio
right now,
off.
if you really find a house that you love right now, it would be a good idea. Because you could refinance. Now, it costs a little bit of money to refi, but supply and housing is really tight. And so if you found something that made sense, I would do it. I do think the one weakness in everything that Mackenzie said is I'd like to see a little bit more money in her emergency fund. 3 to 6 months. I hope I know she has a budget. I don't even have to ask.
No, not at all.
I have people fill out this paperwork before we sit down with them, and a lot of times people say, "Well, what does this tell you?" And I say, "Everything I need to know," because if there's certain things where if they write it down, I know that they're good with money, and if there's certain things they write down, I know that there's some work that we have to. I don't want to embarrass people or discourage them, but it's okay if everything isn't perfect. That's why they're coming to us.
Yeah.
In most cases, so there's times where there's just things we need to work on. I had a couple come to me and they're like, "Oh, we just want to declare bankruptcy. We want to know how to do it." I'm like, "Whoa, pump the brakes. We're not doing that. You have they made a lot of money. They were just."
Oh gosh.
Delay. They were just bad at managing the everyday things. So we worked that out. We did that, and now they're teaching classes at their church, or at least they were, on finances. So I like what she's doing. Everything she's doing is great. Bolster that emergency fund. Be ready to buy a house. The lower the interest rates are, the less you put down, because you could put that money in the market and it'll outgrow your interest rate. So Brian and I, of course, are financial geniuses.
Yes, because we got in when it was the getting was good.
Yeah, like 2%, right?
Yeah. Now, I like to ask you this follow-up all the time with buying a house questions, because I've encountered lots of young folks who think they need to have exactly all of the money ready to put down.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend on the amount to put down for purchasing a home? Because they're scared of the
PMI insurance.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my
private
gosh.
mortgage insurance. Scared of
PMI
it.
insurance hides under the bed and it scares you every night. Grow up already, people. Just buy the house. The higher your interest rate, the more I want to put down. The lower your interest
alarm's
rate.
going off, Dave.
Oh, wait. This is so Eddie needs tools. Eddie needs
He's fine.
tools.
I've heard back from Eddie already.
Oh, you have? He's
It's not
listened?
time yet.
Oh, it's not time yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So finish what you're saying.
How much to put down?
Oh, 5%.
As like the minimum.
Yeah, put down the minimum. And then what you do is you want to keep some powder dry, right? Remember that phrase from back in the 1800s?
Nope, never heard that
Keep
before.
some powder dry. It means keep some money out because you're going to move in and you're
You
like,
find some stuff you don't like. You want to update some
Yeah.
stuff.
I built a house. We moved in. My wife wanted to change things. I'm like, how could this be? We just built a house. We're moving in today, and you want to change something? That was like 3 months ago.
I don't like these cabinets.
Why do you hate me?
I don't like this tile.
I don't like these cabinets. Well, she built the kitchen. In fact, I was allowed one thing in the whole house.
Okay.
Guess what it was?
Garage.
Well, actually, it's two things. No. So in the bathroom, we have a water closet.
A WC. You're British.
Right. Righto. It's the toilet's in its own little room.
Okay.
Okay. I'm like, well, this is for everyone's benefit. So nobody wants to see that. So little room, that was me. The builder tried to talk me out of it. I said, you want to build this house? You're going to do that.
I think they're always fun. A little water closet's nice.
It's nice. Your voice, when you sing in there, it sounds great because there's a little echo.
If you built your own house, what would you have, Brian?
I would not have a WC.
Okay, that's not what I asked. What
Like
would you have?
Any one thing?
Yeah.
Brian, understand the question, please.
I would make sure I have a giant shop outside of
Oh, that's nice.
the house. I want a space for me where I
Great.
can have tools.
It's all
and-
about Brian.
Yeah.
Excuse
And
me.
and the shower. I said I want this kind of shower. I want it to be big enough where there's no door on it. I hate shower doors, curtains, and things like that. I'm like, what are we trying to hide?
Notice I had no expectations about the house itself. Sarah can have whatever she wants. Sounds like I'm a catch now. Thank you.
Not like Mackenzie. Mackenzie. If we
So
were at
true,
a
so
restaurant,
true.
Mackenzie would be listed as the catch of the day.
And she's 26. 26-year-olds love this show. Young people love us, Dave.
Well, because we're young.
That's right.
We're like young and hip, and we speak the same lingo.
Yeah, we're lit.
Okay.
It's giving.
Is there any benefit to titling a new car to a trust versus just an individual?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because if you die, If you die, you know, assume room temperature, all those things, then it won't go through probate. You could the trustee can direct the title however they want. They can sell the car. My neighbor assumed room temperature not too long ago, and it took like 4 months to get their car sold because it was titled to the individual. So a trust is a really good tool. By the way, when you have a trust, you're the trustee of your trust. It's not like somebody's going to come in and say, "Oh, Brian, by the way, you're kicked out of your house because you have a trust." No, you're the trustee. So you still control everything that goes on there. Unless it's an irrevocable trust, and then they can kick you out. So be careful.
Is the market currently overvalued? Do you anticipate a correction this year?
Oh, gosh. I anticipate a correction every year. And I love having this discussion with people because they'll say, well, I'm going to wait till the market goes lower till I get in, and then the market goes up 20 more %. Every single year of our lives, every month that we live, there's an article in the paper of why the market should go down 20% and why the market should go up 20%. Those articles are always there, and there's always people obsessing about the market. And I could tell you, if you invested in the absolute worst time of every market, but you held on, if you stayed in, you're still going to make money. So will the market get corrected? Sure. Of course it will. We'll buy more at that time. But if you stick around long enough, 2008, I had these people that came and invested with me, and they had never invested before. They made a lot of money, but they'd never invested before. And 2008 happened, and they came to my office, and they're like, and his wife is crying, and she's sitting in this chair, and she said, meeting me was the worst thing that ever happened to them. And I said, gosh, you sound just like my wife right now. I didn't know what to say. You sound just like my wife. If they had just stayed, they would have made so much money. They own the best stuff. A lot of the stuff that they owned, I still own. It was the best.
But they pulled everything out.
They just couldn't do it. And it was the only people we had that left in 2008. And they just stayed, they would have been fine. They couldn't do it. Just stay.
We opened a 529 plan for our grandson when he was born. He's about to be 18. Are there tax implications for us?
This is the beautiful thing about a 529.
Yeah.
There are no tax implications. The government can't get their greedy hands on that money. Praise God.
It's a big blessing. My daughter, who's 19, she just works with my dad to get the proper distributions when there's qualified expenditures from a 529.
Yeah, so the money can go right to the college. It doesn't count against your FAFSA form. It's tax-free.
Oh,
All
nice.
the growth is tax-free.
But you can use it for things as well, like books. You can use it for if your
Qualified,
kid needs a computer
Yeah.
for school.
Qualified higher education. Yeah, anything. Computers, books, anything that's qualified for higher education. And it's tax-free. Now, I don't know. People underestimate tax-free. But it's like, think of, let's say you're going to go buy a car, a nice car, a car you've always dreamed about, and you go in there and they say, "Oh, Brian, by the way, here's the keys, and we're not going to charge you." It's that good of a feeling.
Wow.
It's that good of a feeling. Yes.
Now, what did Lauren say earlier when Eddie was not listening and she knew he wasn't?
She said he's a mess and
No,
I'm sick of his junk around the house.
No,
Something
that's
of
the
that.
opposite.
No,
That's the
she
opposite.
said we were talking about tools, and she said he can get whatever he wants.
She did say that.
I've
yes.
never not said, no, you may not get that tool.
Eddie, cancel your meetings. Head over to the hardware store,
Maybe you
buddy.
can ask about golf clubs right now too. Just
Eddie.
see if you can get it in the same sentence.
Circular saws, jigsaws, buddy, go get them. She said you can have whatever you want.
Eddie has no problem getting what he wants or needs.
Golf
so.
clubs are just tools for business. It's just a different
I
kind
agree.
of
What
tool.
does that even mean?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right, thank you.
And Titleist just came out with a new set of drivers. Very important.
Oh, very exciting. Text or call with your financial questions, 440-546-2255. How long will the money market accounts stay at 5% interest rate, and or what would make it go down?
Well, if our good friend Powell
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for that one.
lowers interest rates, the Fed controls short-term interest rates. So very short-term. The Fed controls the interest rate for overnight loans that they give to banks that are more than loaned out. And so if he lowers those short-term interest rates, most likely money market rates are coming down because money markets tend to be 30-day loans. So 30-day bonds, corporate paper that's constantly coming due. The shorter that loan, the more it's going to come down when Chair Powell lowers interest rates. I hope that helps.
I think it does. Let's go now to the phones. We got Chris and Maslin on the line. Hey, Chris, what's your question for Dave Szfranski?
Okay. I have an LLC. My husband has been passed away for 11 years, and I have kept this LLC. He was self-employed, nothing to do with the LLC. That was a different business. But he set up the LLC to protect any investments, and he also made the daughters 1%. So everything would just, like when he passed away, everything just transferred to me. It was very easy. So it's set up like that. It seems like I pay a lot of taxes at the end of the year to the accountant to file for this LLC. I have my house, car, and all financial investments in this LLC. What's your ideas on continuing with this?
Well, the reason why people will set up a limited liability corporation, LLC, is because they might have another business that they're involved in, which could be litigious in nature. So if you own rental properties, for instance, it's most people would recommend that you own those rental properties inside of an LLC, each their own individual LLC, because then if you were to get sued, only the assets in that LLC are exposed to the lawsuit, supposedly, if you do it right. So that's why people set up LLC. So I'd have to know the original reasons, if those original reasons still exist for having the LLC. If there's no income generated out of the LLC, it does have to file a tax return, but if there's no income generated from the LLC, you could probably generate that tax return. If it's got investments in there and you're getting income from different sources, it probably does make sense to have a CPA do your taxes. But you could also, if there's income in the LLC, that means you could set up a retirement plan and save some taxes. You could be putting away money pre-tax, and that will come directly off your income. So
sounds like it would make sense to review that with an attorney
or
a CPA,
or a qualified CPA. So there's not every CPA is created equally. So some CPAs, they just do your taxes. You give them the stuff and they do your taxes. What I want is a little strategery here. I want some, how can we lower the tax bill? Have that conversation with your CPA. If they don't have an answer for you, you have the wrong CPA.
Okay.
There you go.
My financial advisor advised me to take my money out of an IRA and put it in a Roth. I'm 71, so he advised to do this for the next 2 years before required distributions. What are your thoughts on this?
Depending on your tax bracket, converting to a Roth could be a good idea because there's no required minimum distributions in a Roth because tax has already been paid. It's the growth in a Roth IRA that escapes income tax. Now, if you are a charitable-oriented person, when you hit age 73, you can do what's called qualified charitable distribution. So let's say you're giving to a church, and I'm just going to pick a number, $10,000 a year. So to net $10,000, you have to make, let's say, $13,000 because you pay tax, and say 30%. Now, most people don't pay 30%, but I'm just picking a number. Well, if you wanted to give $10,000 out of your IRA instead of your ordinary income, that money's going to go to your church. You're never going to pay tax on it. So it really, I think there's more to it than just, convert before you have to do a required minimum distribution, especially for the people that listen here, because as you know from Share, we're charitably minded. We give money away. We're generous.
That's right.
So if you're a generous-oriented person, if you're giving money to charities, you might not want to do that. I think there's just more to the story.
What is a trust? My mom recently passed and she owned 2 homes. My brother lives in one. I live in the other. My brother is power of attorney and tells me that the homes are in the trust. So if I file for a homestead exemption for property tax, can I say I own the home?
No, the trust owns the home. Now the trust, what might be appropriate at this point, because there's been a death and you're going to be the beneficiaries of stepped up basis. So the trust inherits that property at its current value, could sell it to you at its current value. There's no tax due. It might be the right time to take those properties out of that trust and maybe put it in your own trust if you choose to do that. But you don't have to. You could just assume ownership of it. The trust can transfer ownership to both people. The problem is the houses are of different value. So this is one of the issues with the trust when you have hard assets in it. If mom and dad wanted to treat everybody equally, but one house is worth $300 and the other house is worth $150, do we make up the difference? Should we make up the difference? Will there be hard feelings if we don't make up the difference? This is where trust planning comes in. You say, well, I've been a long believer of you don't have to treat your kids equally. And by the way, by the time they figure out you haven't, you're dead. So what do you care, right?
Gosh.
But now, okay, so if the home is in the trust, wouldn't the trust stipulate where ownership goes
It could. Well,
upon the person's death?
Most trusts will give wide discretion to the successor trustee. While mom was alive, she was the trustee. Mom is deceased. There's a successor trustee now. That successor trustee probably has some discretion.
Could transfer ownership to the children,
Oh,
per
yeah,
se.
absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes there's a good reason to keep money in trust, especially if, let's say you have somebody, a child or the inheritor, the trust beneficiary in this case, let's say they're constantly in trouble with the law. Well, if you keep money in trust, that asset is protected because technically it's not theirs, it's the trust. So you can't be sued out of it. So there are reasons to keep money in trust after the person's deceased.
How do you feel about whole life insurance policies for kids where the dividends will pay for the premiums by the time they are 27?
I don't love it. I don't.
Oh, really?
love it.
See,
No,
I thought
don't
that sounded like a great deal.
It does sound like a great deal, but there's a better deal. So it's like when you take a test, Brian, and they say, well, there's 3 answers that could be right, but choose the best answer. I'm going to give you the best answer. And the best answer is a variable universal life policy if you're going to do life insurance for kids because it has investments in it. And it's a little bit cheaper to buy on the front end. And when I look at the rate of return in a variable universal life, the right ones, it's market returns in a life insurance policy.
So it's better than a whole life.
I think so, yes. And because by nature children are younger, they have a long time, they could withstand market fluctuations better than an 80-year-old. So I would pick a variable universal life instead.
If I live in Ohio, can I name someone from Pennsylvania as the executor of my will?
Yes. Yep.
What about some from Michigan?
I wouldn't. I don't even talk to people from Michigan. Now, if the person is in Pennsylvania, one thing that I would do, if it's a woman, I would stipulate
Here we go.
in the will that they have to shave their armpits for the reading of the will. Because, women in Pittsburgh they're not good groomers.
Okay.
It's constantly like hairy armpits and things like that.
Okay, we have 5 rentals. Do you recommend an LLC for them?
Yes.
I heard yes and not necessarily.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, for each one.
Oh, one LLC per rental
Yes.
property.
Why?
Yeah. Well,
why not have one big LLC?
Let's
for the
say
whole-
you have some grifter living at one of your houses that hasn't paid rent in 9 months, and we're trying to get them evicted. And right before they get evicted, there's a slip and fall accident, and they're like, "Oh man, it's too bad, but I think I have to sue you now unless you're willing to settle with me for $1 million." Only that house and that LLC is going to be exposed. If you have all 5 houses in one LLC, technically they're all exposed to lawsuits. So an LLC
Sounds like good advice. Look at that. Well, that just about does it for today. You're back. Are you happy now?
Well, I'll probably be 11 weeks before I'm back again.
No, I think he's back next week.
We should go on a tool trip with Eddie. That's what we should do on a Thursday and broadcast it live.
Yeah, because he can get whatever he wants. That's what she said.
But
I know
Lauren,
some nice
we'll be
table
like,
saws down
Lauren, this tool's only $400. Eddie's going to buy it.
As long as it's within the budget, it's fine with me. He can get
There-
whatever
Oh,
he
here
wants.
we go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not-
Here we go.
I'm not in
Caveats.
charge of our budget. He is, so
Whatever he wants is changing.
yeah.
Of course it is, Brad. We knew it would happen.
Hey, don't forget, subscribe to this channel so you never miss a new video. Like and subscribe. Slam the button. Whatever they tell you, just slam it. All right? Thanks.